Welcome to the Toke&Trans. What do I say? Welcome to the Toke&Trans podcast, where we talk life, love, and getting high. Grab a J and join us. We do not condone the consumption of illicit activities with anyone under the age of 21.
What's up, everybody? How's your day going? We're just here to say hi to you, to show you, to teach you a few things. Beau,
Hopefully,
we're also going to learn. Actually, I don't know what Beau's going to teach us about. Today's lesson is going to be from Beau.
Right. So we decided as a team to talk about trans people in history and, just remind ourselves and maybe teach others that we've always been here and we're always going to be here, no matter what the laws end up being.
No,
they're not going to get rid of us.
We exist.
And right. Aaron has been very busy being an awesome guy. So I decided to do the research, and then Aaron is going to be super high and learn with you guys.
I want to know. I want to learn. I've got a couple questions. I already have questions. Like, I'm so ready.
Yeah, me too. I learned a lot. I didn't know who most of these people were.
I love that, because people think that we don't exist. Like, oh, there's this big, that it's like, oh, now that this is a modern thing, this is something that, that we're convincing other people of. Like, no, we've been in history, we've been existing. No matter what papers you write, like, that's not going to change identities. It's not going to change who people are as a person. So, Beau, teach them, my man.
Got it, bro.
Somebody.
So the first person on our list is Eleanor Reichener. And Eleanor Reichener existed in the year 1394.
Wow.
Records exist
ahead of her time.
Right?
Wow.
Records exist for Eleanor from 625 years ago, but we don't know exactly when she was born. We know that in 1394 she was arrested in London for prostitution and sodomy. And there's not a lot of information about her since she lived 625 years ago.
Records.
Right. But what we do know about her is that she presented female, and she was an embroiderer and a barmaid, which was typically a job that only women had at the time.
Right.
And she was also a sex worker. She was noted as being bisexual, but having a preference for men. And
wow.
Eleanor has been erased as a trans icon by cishet historians who refer to her by her male name, as an excuse of that being on court documents from when she was arrested. And the case remains to be true that even now, like, my legal name isn't Beau. It would be wrong for people 625 years in the future to refer to me as my legal name now.
Yeah.
No. So I think it's pretty easy to understand how her name could be different in court documents, but
right. And respect that. And because
right.
My gosh.
So
wow.
Yeah.
So the history about her is documented wrong, in the wrong name.
Right. A lot of it is. We do know that her name was Eleanor Reichener. Wow. And we do know that she presented female.
That's so long ago too. Like, I can't imagine, like, talk about an insane situation. Oh my gosh.
Right.
Wow. That's some strength right there.
Yeah, for real.
Like, not only to know that about yourself, but also to, like, be public about that in that time. Like, I don't know anything about the 1300s, but I know that it was a long time ago.
Yeah. And
before.
right. So we're gonna fast forward about 400 years.
All right,
And
bet.
now, okay, I'm gonna do my ancestors so dirty with this because her name is French. She's French.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm French.
So you should be able to deliver this name
Well,
beautifully,
see,
right?
but I'm American. So.
I'm French, but I'm not.
Unilingular American. I can only speak um, English, so
Well,
please don't come for me. Her name, she
yeah.
was known as
Mm-hmm.
Chevalier d'Eon.
Okay. That's beautiful.
Okay, maybe that's good. That is going to be how I continue to pronounce her name. So
Yes.
sorry if it's wrong and cringy, but that's what I got. So,
This is what we're working with.
okay, so Chevalier d'Eon was an 18th century French spy, diplomat, and soldier.
Okay.
She had the genius idea to disguise her transgender identity by coming out as transgender. This is going to make sense in a minute.
All right.
1978. Why did I say 1978? That's not the year that I was looking at.
I was going to say that's a lot more than 400.
In 1728.
That's the one.
I'm stoned. In the year 1728, Deon was born at the fucking another French word.
This other French word, hospital.
It's the name of a hotel.
Oh, it's
okay. And there's like a weird like caret thing over the O, and I don't know how to say that kind of O.
French is hard.
Yeah. So she was born at a hotel. You know, you can look it up.
Born at a hotel.
It was in Burgundy, and she was born into a poor noble family. She was assigned male at birth, and she excelled at school and in her military training and moved to Paris at an early age. By 35, she had been knighted, had a law degree, published books on the French tax system, and became a celebrated fencer.
Okay.
Yeah.
The longest resume. Wow.
Following that, she joined the Secret du Roi. Secret du Roi.
Me too.
Wait, Y makes the Wa sound, right? Or is that only with the S at the end? I don't know. She joined a secret network of the king's spies and reported directly to Louis the XV.
To Louis.
I'm not going to count. Wait, what? 15th? 10?
Louis? Yep, 15th.
V is 5. 15th. There we go.
A spy. So we got, there's like 4 or 5 different things that she like rocked at here. We have like a spy in the 1700s.
35 at this point.
My gosh.
35. She's a knight with a law degree, a published author, and a well-known fencer. And then she decides that she's going to become a spy and reports directly to Louis XV.
You know, I think I'm just going to do this.
We're not done. We're not done. Because after years of service, she was passed over for a promotion. Blah, 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 blah. She was passed over for a promotion. So she published a tell-all book of the secrets of the king's spies.
Oh my gosh. She said, you know what? That's fine. That's fine. I'll be an author.
Watch she this. Said, bitch, you want to not promote me? This is everything they've ever done, ever. Publish.
Enter.
Oh my God.
Holy cow.
The whole fucking King Spies canceled.
Oh my gosh. They have to change their whole thing. Like everybody now knows none of that's a secret. No one should knows that even exists. And she's like, well, you want to look over me? That's fine.
Right.
That's fine.
Exactly.
That's incredible.
So that ended up paying off and was accepted by the French and British government. She was living in London at the time. Oh wait, I skipped ahead of my notes. I missed a sentence. In her later years, she applied to be assigned female at birth, stating that she was assigned male only to ensure that she would inherit the family estate. So that was accepted by the French and British government, and she was living in London at the time. So her gender was made official, and she lived her remaining 33 years completely free to be herself, and she was still a badass fencer.
Damn.
Right?
Wow.
1728, Chevalier d'Eon.
Shit, I know
this long ass fucking name, and that's why they called her Chevalier d'Eon.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Holy cow, what a resume.
I know
all of those things.
I know.
You had to stay busy. Like, I mean, these things take like years and years and years to do.
Absolutely.
Badass. I love that.
So about another 100 years. Okay.
18.
Yep. 1800s.
Right. We're here.
We're coming across Mr. Charlie Parkhurst.
Charlie. Tell me about
known as One-Eyed Charlie.
One-Eyed Charlie.
He was a famous American rancher in the 1800s. He was born and raised in an orphanage in New England, but he ran away and changed his name before he turned 18.
Oh, okay.
He followed the gold rush out west and built a reputation as one of the greatest stagecoach drivers running over Mount Madonna on the West Coast. He gained his nickname One-Eyed Charlie after he was kicked in the left eye by a horse that had been startled by a rattlesnake.
My gosh, that's what this sounds like. This sounds like a Western story.
Yeah. And the best part of Charlie's story is that no one knew that he was trans until after he died.
No one. Not his kids.
I don't believe he had kids.
Oh my gosh. None of his. I can't imagine.
Yeah.
Not even knowing that. Wow. That's impressive. And it's weird because when you're reading about this stuff in school, like in elementary school, middle school, you're learning about history. You're learning about, them going west. You learn about the Oregon Trail. You learn about all these things. But like, why? Like, you don't like, I never thought there was someone like me there. Like, never once thought that was someone like me. Like in the LGBT community. I don't know why, but in my brain, that was not a thing.
Right. It seems like we're so like detached from people of that age, but
right.
It's really nice to remind ourselves that we really have been here the whole time.
We were there too.
Yeah.
We saw that too.
This isn't some made up
thing. He was going for that gold just like everybody else was going for that gold. My boy is on a hunt. Yes. Wow.
Okay.
I still can't. I'm still stuck on the like. No one knew he was trans till he died.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of that actually. I think. 86 years after Charlie, we're gonna meet Lucy Hicks Anderson, and she was one of the first earliest recorded demonstrators for marriage equality. Wow. She was born in 1886 in Kentucky. As a young child, she told her parents she wanted to be a girl and go by Lucy. They took her to the family doctor, who told them to respect her choices. Wow. And so she transitioned with their full support.
And what year is this right now? What year is this?
She was born in 1886, and she was a young girl when this happened. So
that doctor was also ahead of their time as well.
Yeah.
For that to be their reaction, that's incredible.
Well, this is a good time for me to bring up the 1933 burning of the Institute of Sexology by the Nazi Germans, because that doctor was actually not ahead of their time. They were actually very much within the reasonable realm of their time. We had so much research on transgender people at this time already.
Right.
And we knew that it was a valid identity and that the treatment for transgenderism was transition.
Right.
We knew that for a very long time. We lost that information in May of 1933 when the Nazis decided to burn it down. You know, when they decided that there was only one type of superior master race and everybody else had to be,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So
at same time, yeah.
Just want to point that out.
That's true. They're not that's absolutely true. I mean,
yeah.
Imagine,
We're behind our time.
Imagine if we had that information leading up to this point, and like look at how society is right now, and look how people are acting right now. And there was already this had already happened before, just like it always will happen again and again, because it's a thing, because they exist no matter what. It doesn't matter.
Right.
So I'm just happy. I love learning this stuff because it reminds me that like everything you're learning in school gets a whole lot more interesting when you realize that there are like queer people kicking ass in there too, you know, making history, making big discoveries and all this shit.
Yes, absolutely. So when Lucy Hicks Anderson, when she was older, she moved to California and she married a man called Clarence Hicks, and they operated a brothel together. They divorced in 1929, and she later married a soldier called Reuben Anderson, who was stationed at Mitchell Field on Long Island, New York.
Wow.
Perjury charges were brought against her because she signed the marriage document, which swore that there were no legal objections to the marriage. Speaking to the press, she said, quote, "I defy any doctor in the world to prove that I am not a woman. I have lived, dressed, acted just what I am, woman." End quote. Sadly, she was found guilty of perjury, and later she was convicted of fraud because she cashed checks she received from the government as the wife of a U.S. soldier, which she was.
Wow.
Yeah. So California and New York in the 1920s were obviously on very different timelines.
Yes, not on the same page there.
Right. Yeah. So we love Lucy.
We love Lucy. Great.
There's a photo of her with this very pretty hat. It's a big hat, and she's wearing this suit.
Yes.
With a little bow and a pearl necklace.
Meaning business.
Yeah, like a two-piece. It's like a two-piece suit with a. It looks like it might be a double-breasted vest and like a flouncy little blouse underneath with a black bow.
Okay. Hell yes.
Lovely. Yes, we love it. Okay. Next on the list, Mr. Alan L. Hart. You might have heard of Alan L. Hart. Have you heard of Alan L. Hart?
It's rung a bell.
It's okay if you haven't. He's pretty famous because he was a pioneering radiologist, physician, and tuberculosis researcher. His greatest work was arguably when he discovered that X-rays could be used to detect tuberculosis, saving countless lives worldwide. Wow. He attended medical school while presenting female, but transitioned soon after.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
While working as a doctor at a hospital in Oregon, he was recognized by one of his former classmates who outed him, and he was forced to leave. This was not the only time this happened to Alan, and it began to take its toll on him. Writing in his novel, The Undaunted, about a character called Sandy Farquhar, he wrote, quote, "He had been driven from place to place, from job to job, for 15 years because of something he could not alter any more than he could change the color of his eyes. Gossip, scandal, rumor always drove him on." End quote. He was also one of the first recorded trans men to receive gender-affirming surgery in the U.S.
Wow. The same tuberculosis researcher.
Yep.
Wow.
Isn't that great?
And he created the vaccine.
He didn't create the vaccine. He discovered that X-rays could be used to detect tuberculosis.
It, so they could see it and do the research on it based on it. Damn.
They could find it early.
Wow. A trans.
Yeah.
Like, this is just like, why is none of this in our books too? Like, put some of these in our books.
That's what I'm saying. Why did I have to learn about Alan Earhart on my own?
Yeah.
I feel like if we're going to learn fake shit about how like the Pilgrims broke bread, Americans, and whatever bullshit that was. If they're gonna teach us fake shit, then they can teach us about the guy who discovered that X-rays can find tuberculosis. You know, like,
I mean, like, that could have made it in the book. So let's put it in the books, guys.
Right. Okay, so next we have Sir Lady Java. Sir Lady Java, who is still active today, rose to fame in the 1960s as an entertainer and exotic dancer renowned for her perfect hourglass shape. Born in 1943, she transitioned at an early age with the support of her mother and began dancing and singing in local nightclubs. In her 20s, she moved to LA and became associated with stars like Red Fox, Sammy Davis Jr., and Richard Pryor. She was performing at a Red Fox famous club, and it's rumored that her and Davis Jr. were a couple for a while.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And in 1967, the LAPD began shutting down Java's famous performances, citing a local law prohibiting, quote, impersonation by means of costume or dress, a person of the opposite sex, aka drag.
Let me, impersonation. Just, that's the one that's gotten me in the recent attack on trans people in Tennessee. And I read the document myself because I wanted to know exactly what we were reading. And that was the part that got me. It was like the right hook at the very end when it was just like you weren't expecting it. And then it says any female or male impersonator. Are you going to tell me who are you going to say is impersonating based on what they're dressed like? Based on them dressing like Dolly Parton? Based on them dressing like Hooters, people at Hooters?
What is a woman impersonating a man? Is it pants? Like what is it? Is it short hair and pants?
And like, that's the scary part, is that it doesn't say anything about these things. It doesn't say that. It doesn't say pants. It doesn't say any kind of, it's subjective. And the subjectivity is the part that scares people, is because then it's up to the police. It's up to that. Right. It's this gray area where no one has that's foolishness. Right. So when you said impersonator, they were experiencing the exact same thing that we're experiencing to fucking day.
Yep. Yep. In response to that, she picketed the club and hired the American Civil Liberties Union, otherwise known as the ACLU, who is also the organization that is helping to sue all these states who end up passing these bills.
Currently?
So she picketed the club and hired the ACLU to overturn the ruling. Eventually, it was overturned in 1969 after a separate dispute with another party, but she was instrumental in this change. The ACLU can overturn that ruling in 1969. I believe that they can do it again, baby.
I believe they know how to do it twice.
I believe it's just going to take a really long time because they're going to, I
mean, how many years was that? How many years between was that?
3 years.
3 years.
1967 to 1969.
I mean, in the grand scheme of all of history, it's like, yeah, 3 years isn't a long time, but like when you're living there, 3 years, hopefully, I'm like, hopefully it's less than 3 years.
The first COVID shutdown was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long time, but I think this story is hopeful, at least, you know?
Absolutely. She said, you know what? No, I'm not gonna accept this. This is not what we're doing. We're gonna go check out the ACLU and we're gonna go do our own research and we're gonna kick some ass because this is foolishness. Yeah. And they want to change it for us. And they were thinking that for us, for me and you now, let alone for the people after us, that they weren't even realizing that they were ripple affecting.
Absolutely.
Mm. Mm.
All right. And number 7.
7.
Awesome trans people list is Wilmer Little Axe Broadnax. He was a talented gospel quartet singer in the 20th century. He was born in 1916 in Texas, and he loved music from an early age. After moving to Southern California in the mid 1940s, Wilmer and his brother William joined the Southern Gospel Singers. Later, Wilmer and William formed the Five Trumpets, which they were both lead singers for, and Wilmer was known for his powerful tenor voice. Following this, he performed with the Fairfield Four and the Five Blind Boys of Mississippi before forming his own group called the Little Axe, called Little Axe and the Golden Echoes. He performed with his brother, who accepted and supported him through his life. And here's another good part. Wilmer's trans identity was discovered only after his death in 1992. He had children.
He did have
who
children.
Also didn't know.
Wow. Children who didn't know.
Right.
The end of afterwards. Like that is, wow. There's and there's a lot of people that choose to live stealth and they don't want anybody to know. I mean, obviously their partner likely is the person who would know. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes.
Right. Wow. Exactly.
I love that though. Like even then that right there, music history, like that's musical history. That's trans fucking people in music history.
And he's not even, he's far from the only one. We have,
oh my gosh,
we've been in jazz, we've been in classical music. Like we're fucking everywhere, bro.
We've been there.
Been there. We've done that.
We've there.
Perfected it.
We're currently there as well right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So those were 7 people that have historically been known as trans.
Right.
Like FTM, MTF, AFAB, AMAP, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like binary, would you say?
Binary. Yes, I would say that.
Aaron with the vocab. Beau usually teaches me vocab.
Yes, Aaron with the vocab.
Beau usually helps me with vocab, but okay, here we go. Sorry.
We love it. Okay. So even within the trans community, Aaron, there's this fucking gatekeeping gender nonsense. And some people like to be colloquially, I believe they're known as trans medicalists. And they're the people who think that like you need dysphoria to be trans, and without dysphoria you cannot be trans.
Right.
But there's also, that's not true. We know that gender euphoria exists, and that's how we know that we're trans. And they also some of them like to say that non-binary people aren't valid, and we know that that's not true. Non-binary people are still valid in their trans identity. Non-binary people have also been here forever.
For a long time. So
for a long time.
So and we're just going to let you know that's exactly where we stand right there. Right. Hard line for us. Hard boundary. You got to set those hard boundaries.
Absolutely. We are not trans medicalists here.
No, we don't fuck with that.
We don't fuck with that shit.
No, we accept people.
Mm-hmm. So, in honor of our NBVBs, I wanted to talk about some historical NBs, you know? And the first one I want to talk about is so fun. The first one I'm going to talk about, the Public Universal Friend. The Public Universal Friend. That is their name.
That's their legal name. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. Their name. Wow.
I'm not sure what the situation was back in.
That's an incredible name right there.
Yeah. So, also known as the Friend, which is how I will continue to call them, because the Public Universal Friend, you know, we'll just call them the Friend.
The Friend. I love that.
Friend was born in November of 1752. And they were 66 years old when they died in 1819. Their previous name was listed, but I'm not going to. If you want to look it up, you can look it up, but I'm not going to say it. So they were born under another name to Quaker parents in Rhode Island. They suffered from a severe illness, and the Friend claimed to have died and been reanimated as a genderless evangelist named the Public Universal Friend. So that's when the transition happened. They got sick, and when they recovered, they said that was a reanimation, and they were now genderless.
Right. Like a awakening for them that was who they were.
Right. And after that, they shunned both bird name. What the fuck?
Bird name. Their bird name. We're not going to list that name either.
No, not their bird name.
Their birth name.
Right. They shunned both birth name and gendered pronouns in 1752. I just want to bring that up again because people are still saying, I'm not going to they, them, you, because it's not grammatically correct. You fucking simple ass.
Interesting, because you do it all the time.
Right. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, in androgynous clothes, the Friend preached throughout northeastern United States, attracting many followers who became the Society of Universal Friends.
Have a whole, now we've got a whole little thing. That's awesome.
Right.
Little impact.
Friend's theology was broadly similar to that of most Quakers. The Friend stressed free will, opposed slavery, and supported sexual abstinence. The most committed members of the Society of Universals why can't I talk today?
Because you're stoned.
Oh my God. The most committed members of the Society of Universal Friends were a group of unmarried women who took leading roles in their households and community. In the 1790s, members of the society acquired land in western New York where they formed the town of Jerusalem near Penn Yan, New York. The Society of Universal Friends ceased to exist by the 1860s. Many writers have portrayed the Friend as a woman and either a manipulative fraudster or a pioneer for women's rights. Others have viewed the Friend as transgender or non-binary and a figure in trans history.
Wow.
That is what I choose to understand them as well.
Right.
Sounds like a non-binary experience to me.
Correct. And that's like, they got their own land. They got their own land and was like, we're gonna do this right here. Like, yeah, we're gonna make a city and it's gonna be awesome. Like that's badass.
Exactly. And they were where did I see it? They were also the cousin. They were the cousin of someone who signed the Declaration of Independence. Here it is. Yeah, they were a cousin of Stephen Hopkins.
Wow.
Governor at the time of wherever they were there in Rhode Island, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, the colony of Rhode Island. They're the governor of the colony of Rhode Island and signer of the Declaration of Independence. So they were a cousin of that guy.
And had a
Isn't that
sibling
cool?
who was non-binary. Like every time I'm just like, in history, like history would have been so much cooler for me if I would have thought about it that way.
Right. When the Declaration of Independence was signed, there was non-binary people.
Then
Non-binary people in America.
Right there, plain. And you guys can look this stuff right up on your own and you can see the same information. Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's good for it.
Cousins with one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. Like,
family.
These people that think that like the founding fathers don't want us or something, as if we weren't already there and related to them. Fucking
imagine that.
So dumb.
And these are just the people that, you know, that are like, and these are people that come out. Like the statistics are so much higher for those that don't come out, that aren't able to, either aren't able to or aren't, you know, don't want to, you know, for whatever reason.
Right. And I have another NB baby. God, please forgive me if I pronounce their name wrong. Wewa. I'm going to say Wewa.
Okay.
It's WE apostrophe WHA.
Okay.
Wewa. So that's what I'm going to go with. There was I couldn't find a like you know, like sometimes they have a sticker next to it. Right. I couldn't find, and there's no people don't agree on how to spell it either. Right. So I don't know.
So we're just doing our best here.
Right. So Wewa was born in 1849, and they were about 46, 47 when they passed away in 1896. They were a Zuni Native American from New Mexico, and they were a notable fiber artist, weaver, and potter, and also the most famous Lamana on record, and in traditional Zuni culture, the Lamana are male-bodied people who take on the social and ceremonial roles usually performed by women in their culture.
Wow.
At least some.
Yeah.
They wear a mixture of women's and men's clothing, and much of their work is in the areas usually occupied by Zuni women. They are also known to serve as mediators. Some contemporary Lamana participate in the modern Pan-Indian Two-Spirit community. So, Wewa served as a cultural ambassador for Native Americans in general, and the Zuni in particular, serving as a contact point and educator for many European American settlers, teachers, soldiers, missionaries, and anthropologists. In 1886, Wewa was part of the Zuni delegation to Washington, D.C. During that visit, Wewa met President Grover Cleveland.
Wow.
Wewa's friendship with anthropologist Matilda Cox Stevenson would lead to much material on the Zuni being published. Stevenson wrote down her observations of Wewa using both male and female pronouns at different points in time, writing, quote, "She performs masculine, religious, and judicial functions at the same time that she performs feminine duties tending to laundry and the garden." End quote. And then the beginning of a new quote.
Yeah.
He was the most intelligent person in the Pueblo. Strong character made his word law. both men and women with whom he associated. Through his wrath was though his wrath was dreaded by men as well as women, he was loved by all children, whom he was ever kind, end quote. Wewa lived for part of their life in the role and dress usually associated with men in Zuni culture, and part of their life in roles associated with women. Friends and relatives have used both male and female pronouns for Wewa. So
yeah, so that's incredible. Like,
yeah,
and they were an artist as well. Like,
yeah, they were a fiber artist, a weaver, and a potter, and also really involved with education and outreach.
Yeah, a full-on activist.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, and I mean that's a late example of a native existing outside of the Western binary. They've always had third genders that are not in the binary. So that's not even an early example as far as native history goes. So I just thought that was a cool one because Wewa was so important to our not what we know of Zuni culture now.
Right. And made a lot of that possible.
Absolutely.
Things.
Trans people have made a lot of things possible. And here's a little new one, okay? Because I think, okay, listen. Have you ever played Kingdom Hearts?
No. Sorry, bro.
Oh, I choked on my gasp.
Get your water, stay a little hydrated.
Oh my God. Okay, so those of us who have played Kingdom Hearts.
Yep.
There's a song in Kingdom Hearts by an artist called Utada Hikaru. And the song is called Simple and Clean. And in 2021, Utada Hikaru came out as non-binary, and I found this out today.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
She's so cool.
They didn't say anything about her pronouns. So I don't know what.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, they're using they. All right. I'll just use they.
Yeah.
So
yeah, and if you don't know what third gender or two-spirit, like, I encourage you to do this research on your own too, because you can learn a lot of things that you may not have known before. And these words, that way next time you run into them, you're like, hey, I actually know a little bit about this, and you can bring those up in your conversations, in your tough conversations that you're having in your own lives as well when you're discussing your identity.
Yeah. Next time someone wants to say that, oh, this is a phase, this is brand new, this is a trend, you've been brainwashed. You can give them these freaking,
send them our link.
Lived in the freaking 1300s. We've been here, bro.
Like, no, this is not something we're just like randomly invented. Like,
right.
This is not something that one person was like, I'm going to do this and convince all. Like, no, like, this is so much more evolved than people even think.
Right.
And you get yourself educated.
Yes, bro. Yes. So Utada had tweeted in 2021, I'm sick of being asked if I'm Miss or Mrs. or choosing between Miss/Mrs/Ms. for everyday things. It makes me uncomfortable to be identified so markedly by my marital status or sex, and I don't relate to any of those prefixes. Every time I feel like I'm forced to misrepresent myself, I long for an alternative option, one that anybody of any gender or social standing could use. After writing thus far, I looked it up and discovered that mix, MX, pronounced mix, has been suggested. That's awesome, and I hope it becomes more widely used. I'm afraid my idea for a neutral prefix has come too late. And in a recent live stream, she had said, it's the month of June and I'm non-binary, so happy Pride Month.
So let's go. I'll tell you exactly about it. That's awesome.
And then in a following tweet, she wrote Miss Utada, but Miss was spelled MYS. And then in parentheses after, they said Mystery Utada. MYS stood for mystery.
No,
which I love.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah, and that's also becoming way more widely known for teachers and non-binary educators to use mix. I've seen a few of my influencers that I follow on Instagram using that, mix, mix
Me
teacher,
too.
mix last name.
And when I was in college in St. Louis, when I was still going by Lennon, they, them, I was in oral communications 101, and my professor at the time knew what my pronouns were and everything, and she was very awesome about it. And she would email me. Well, she emailed me this one time saying that, like, I have an activity planned for class tomorrow that would separate the group into men and women. Would that make you uncomfortable? If so, I have something else planned. And I was so giddy that she emailed me because I was like, yeah, actually that would make me feel weird. I'd love it if we could do the other thing. And we did the other thing. She didn't say anything about it in class. It was great.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And she also, when Mix first got like inducted into the Merriam-Webster dictionary, she sent me the article and was like, look, this is, and I was like, oh my God, I had no idea. I never heard of mix before that.
Yeah.
And I was so happy.
Oh my
God. I loved that.
Absolutely.
That was also the best class.
I can't imagine having like, oh my gosh, the freaking gym, like separating like boys, like the guys on one side, girls on the other. They always said like, it was like, you guys know, like everyone knows, like I was the last person to find out about me. Like, so it was just like, it knows it makes it such an uncomfortable situation because well, this one's not right and this one's not right. Just like when I like in high school for me, the locker room situation, well, this one's not right and this one's not right. Like it just kind of further, shows that.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And I listed 7 trans people and I only talked about 3 non-binary people, but that isn't to say that there's some kind of like lack of non-binary people are like so rare. There's so many important non-binary people. I just don't have the time to talk about them. So I will throw in a couple extra ones at the end here, just with little things. So there's Uzomo Asagwara. Uzomo Asagwara, which is they're Canadian, they're genderqueer, and they're a politician.
Yes.
Bilal Baig is a Canadian who is gender fluid and a playwright and actor. Ruth Baldacchino is Maltese and non-binary and an activist. Thomas Beatty was born in 1869. They were British, non-binary, and a lawyer, writer, editor of the feminist gender studies journal Urania. Marjorie it's probably not Bocage, but it looks like it's spelled Bocage. So Marjorie Bocage is a Canadian two-spirit who is a filmmaker and a teacher. Wow. There's politicians, intersex advocates, philosophers, gender theorists, playwright, boxer, poet, journalist, entertainer, like
every category of people and everything, every activity, every sport, every state, every aspect, every part of the law, people in the government, everywhere you're going to find people that are non-binary, that are transgender, that don't that don't fit in with this, like, cis het situation, like, that are outside of that bubble. We're here now, and we are existing all the fuck over the place. And if you are hearing otherwise, and it sometimes can seem like it's overwhelmingly otherwise, it's actually not. And that is, that's their own delusion, not ours, not ours.
Right. Just to give a visualization for how many trans people there are, there was a poll sent out. I don't have the source in front of me. I just remember seeing this, that people were polled about what percentage of Americans do they think are trans, and yes, they came back saying, like, the average amount, 24% is what they thought. 24%. Mm-hmm. Do you want to know what the real amount is? 2%. 2% of the whole population is trans. 2. Do you know what else is 2% of the population? Redheads. Do you know what else is 2% of the population? Green eyes. Do you know what else is 2% of the population? Russia.
I mean, yeah. Wow.
But people aren't saying that Russia doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because it's only 2% of the population.
Right. Yeah.
Russia's the biggest fucking continent. Like,
overwhelmingly
not continent, country.
Right. We are overwhelmingly.
I know the continent is Asia. Okay. I'm stoned.
We're I mean, you're lucky we know that much. Okay. We're trying here.
Right.
Hell no. Dude, thank you so much for doing that.
Of course.
It's like the dopest history lesson I've ever received in my life.
Good. It's fucking dope, right? I fucking love that shit. Public Universal Friend was my favorite. Yeah. I love that that's the name that they picked.
The friend.
The friend, Public Universal Friend?
Like,
yes, I know Public Universal Friend. Like,
I am a public and universally your friend. Like, that's badass. Like, instantly, safe zone. Safe zone right there.
Period.
End of the story. Yes, I love that. Perfect. I'm so glad. I hope you guys enjoyed this list and learning with us, because I had fun. I encourage you to listen along to our podcasts, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all that jazz.
Let us know in the comments some trans people that we didn't mention.
Yeah. Who'd we miss?
Lots.
A ton, a shit ton. But if you happen to know one off the top of your head that you really like, let us know. Drop it down below. And I guess we'll have to see you guys next Sunday. Is that right?
Sundays? Yeah, we're posting on Sundays now.
Sundays. Every Sundays. All Sundays. Catch up. We've got plenty of episodes. We love you guys.
Love you.
We'll see you in the next one.
Next one.